Every time you pour a glass of wine, you're not just having a drink, you are running a training session. And you know that pattern where you give yourself permission to drink tonight and you promise yourself you will try harder to abstain tomorrow, except tomorrow never comes? What if I told you that the reason you keep doing that is not because you lack willpower, but because you've been practicing that pattern again and again and again until it became the default? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Your brain does not care if what you're doing is good for you or bad for you. It doesn't care if you're happy or ashamed of the outcome. Your brain just tracks repetition, which means that every single drink is teaching your brain something. Once you see your behavior this way, you can't ever unsee it. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what you've been secretly training your brain to do and how to start training it to do something else instead. You're listening to How to Drink Less, and I'm your host, Adriana Cloud. Whether your goal is to cut back, to take a break, or to quit drinking for good, this podcast will help you to stop drinking on autopilot, learn how to manage cravings, and feel fully in control around alcohol. It's easier than you think. Listen on to find out how. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, I want to give you a new perspective from which to look upon your drinking because it's going to change how you think about both your drinking nights and your sober nights. And here it is. Every time you drink, you're practicing something. You're getting better at something and reinforcing a pattern in your brain. And every time you don't drink, you're also practicing something, and you're getting better at that too. Let's talk about why this matters. We tend to think about drinking one night at a time. Here's what that sounds like. Oh, it's Friday. I'm allowed to drink on a Friday. What's the big deal? Or there's negotiations like, yes, I know I said I wasn't going to be drinking today, but my boss was so mean to me, and I really deserve a cocktail after the day I've had. And look, maybe that individual drink or two drinks genuinely are not a big deal. But your brain doesn't learn from single isolated moments. It learns through repetition. Every time you pair a situation with alcohol, you're reinforcing that association. Stress and a drink. Friday night and a drink. Anxiety and a drink. Boredom, drink. Date night, drink. Every time you drink in those situations or in response to that trigger, you're essentially telling your brain, this is what we do when this happens. And the more often you practice that response, the more automatic it becomes. Now, I want to be clear here because I don't want this to turn into fear-mongering. I'm not telling you that a glass of wine is doing some terrible, irreversible thing to your brain, or that you should never drink when you're stressed. That's not what this is about. I'm asking you to zoom out and notice what you're repeatedly teaching yourself to do over weeks and months and years, one repetition at a time. Because the thing you repeat is the thing you're getting better at, whether you want to or not. Next time you're faced with choosing whether to drink or not to drink, ask yourself, what skill would I be getting better at if I choose to drink? And conversely, if I choose not to drink in this situation, what skill would I be practicing then? Say you're out with colleagues for a happy hour. You were planning to have a soda, but everyone else orders a cocktail, and Josie from HR says, oh, come on, join us. One won't hurt. In that moment, I don't want you to be thinking about, should I have this drink? What does it mean if I do? And what does it mean if I don't? Instead, I want you to ask yourself, what skill would you be practicing if you caved and said yes to the drink? You will be practicing and getting better at giving into peer pressure. You'll be practicing avoiding FOMO. You'll be practicing going back on your commitment to not drink this particular evening. You would be getting better at outsourcing your decisions to the group. And suddenly, that sounds very different from, oh, I'm just having one drink, what's the big deal, doesn't it? And this applies to every situation where you're choosing whether to drink or not. If you've had a stressful day and you pour a glass of wine, you're practicing escaping stress. If you were bored on a Tuesday night and you crack open a beer, You're teaching your brain that boredom is unbearable and needs to be avoided. If you've just had an argument with your partner or a fight with your kid and you reach for a drink, you're practicing numbing an uncomfortable emotion rather than sitting with it. And if you pop the bubbly to celebrate, you're reinforcing the message that alcohol is necessary to make something feel special. Now, I don't want you to hear any of that as judgment. It's not a verdict on your character. This is something that we all do. But what this question allows you to see is how a behavior you repeat again and again strengthens certain associations with alcohol and reinforces certain messages for your brain. The more you repeat something, the better you get at it, right? Think about playing a sport or playing a musical instrument or speaking a foreign language or making croissants. Repetition is what makes the task easier because you get better at it the more time you have under your belt. Now, let's flip that question. What are you getting better at when you choose not to drink? Pay attention here because this might be the most useful part of the episode. People think that not drinking is just absence, it's abstinence. I didn't drink tonight. That's it. Nothing happened. I removed the alcohol, period. But that's not true. You did something. You flexed a muscle. You practiced a skill. If you wanted a drink because you were stressed and you didn't have one, you practiced sitting with the stress without escaping it. If you were at a party and felt awkward, but you didn't reach for the drink, you got better at tolerating feeling uncomfortable. If everyone else at the table ordered wine and you didn't, you got better at making your own decision, independent of the group. If you had a craving and you let it pass, you taught your brain that wanting something doesn't automatically mean you get to have it. A sober evening isn't just the absence of drinking. It's the rehearsal of a new identity and new choices. And again, the more you practice something, the easier it gets. We all understand this. We've all seen it at play in other areas of our lives. But the part that many people miss is that if you want something to eventually feel easy, you have to be willing to do it when it still feels hard. I shared recently that I'm learning how to drive manual at 45. I've had a few lessons over the past few weeks, and it's still really hard for me. I still make so many mistakes in every lesson, and I stall the car, and occasionally I drive onto the curb when I'm trying to turn. And of course, my instructor doesn't think that driving is hard. He finds driving so easy. Why? Because he's been driving for a few decades. He has put the hours in. But I can't just sit here and wait for driving to become easy before I practice. Practicing is what will make it feel easier eventually. And it's the same with quitting drinking or cutting back. Your first sober Friday might feel challenging and awkward. It's a big deal, maybe even a little dramatic. Your 20th or 30th sober Friday might barely register at all. And that's not because you've suddenly developed some superhuman reserve of willpower. It's because you've practiced sober Fridays. You have practiced feeling a little bored or annoyed when you're not drinking. You've gotten better at navigating all kinds of social situations without alcohol. You have taught your brain again and again that Friday doesn't need to include alcohol to be fun. And of course, you won't do it perfectly every time. That's okay, because that's not the goal. Remember the question, what are you practicing? The key word here is practicing, which by definition means doing something again and again in order to get better at it. You don't have to do it perfectly to make a difference, because every single repetition is evidence for your brain. Oh, apparently we can actually relax without alcohol? Oh, it turns out that Leslie and I still have a lot to talk about, and we can still laugh hysterically when we're just gossiping over soda instead of Prosecco. So this week, try this question. Whenever you're faced with the choice of whether to drink or not to drink, ask yourself, what skill am I about to practice? And see how that question informs your decision. What I love about this question is that it takes us away from binary thinking like not drinking is good and drinking is bad. It's not helpful to think in terms of good or bad because you just end up judging yourself. It's a lot more helpful to think about your choices and the consequences of those choices. And this is what this episode allows you to do. Ask yourself, when it comes to your relationship with alcohol, what do you actually want to get better at? Because whatever you do again and again is the thing you're getting better at. Whatever you repeat is what your brain is going to learn and eventually to automate. And if you want not drinking to eventually feel easy, you have to give your brain enough chance to practice doing it while it still feels maybe not so easy. You don't have to be great at it just yet. And you don't even have to like how it feels to try to do something sober. You just have to be willing to practice. And if you want support while you're getting better at not drinking, I would love to help you. Come to my free class, How to Stop Wanting Alcohol, and I will show you the 3 skills you need to learn if you want to actually feel in control around alcohol and to stop constantly negotiating with yourself about when to drink and how much to drink. I'm going to show you how to actually remove the desire for alcohol because when you no longer want to drink, it's really easy not to drink. The link to sign up for the class is in the show notes. Go and grab your seat now because if you find yourself obsessing about alcohol and feeling like you're constantly fighting with yourself, this class is for you. Take good care, my friends, and I'll talk to you next week.